Well, you started off saying, all the things you used to do and the active life you had, and that you tailgated and did football. Now, I'm going to have to ask someone else how to email this, so I can't even promise that. But
Well, if we can't email it, we're really fucked.
certainly you can. It's a question
Oh,
of,
look, it has me backwards. That's why I was having so
okay, now
much
you're
trouble.
going to, when you're ready, press right here, this thing.
How do I stop it?
You drag it over to here later and hit stop. You want me to hit it?
Yeah, you better be ready to hit stop because I'll
Okay, I'll
fuck
do
it
it.
up. Okay.
You signal me.
Okay, go ahead.
Take your time, whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. Hi, my name is Claudia Laurence, and I was asked to speak on what arachnoiditis has done to my life or how it's changed it. It's a difficult subject to speak on because what do you say about a monster that has crept into your life and taken it away completely, pretty much? First, let me tell you a little bit about what my life was like before arachnoiditis so you'll have an idea of what kind of a person I was. I had a great life. I was doing one of everything before I died, or that's what I used to say. I was a teacher for 5 years of middle and high school students. I had 4 children, natural childbirth, no medication at all, and 2 of the children were over 9.5 pounds. I had a radio show of my own. I had a baked goods business that became internationally known. We shipped all over the world and we served restaurants here. And I worked toward my master's degree in sports administration when I was in my early 40s. I was an avid football fan and used to tailgate for at least 3 hours before every football game. I worked in politics and loved it. 20-hour days. I I loved. It was everything. Work was I thrived on. And then there was the day that I had that epidural that changed everything. I had a ruptured disc, and I'd had a couple of epidurals. They kept promising me that the pain would go away. And on this particular epidural, it certainly did change the pain level. Uh, I, who had never really known what pain was, I had a tremendous threshold for pain and had been really tough, passed out from the pain of the epidural. It got so excruciating. And when I came to, the doctors were working over me, and it was very frightening. And they kept me there for a couple of hours, um, something they had never done before. And when they let me go, I was never quite right, but about 6 months later, my pain changed dramatically, and I began to get a searing pain down my leg, but not like a pain I'd ever had before. It was a burning, tearing, crushing pain, and then it was joined by my feet went numb, but if I walked, it felt like I was walking on crushed glass. I'd have shooting pains from nowhere pulling me up in the middle of the night, and I had like critters crawling on my body. And there are so many symptoms from this disease that you can't even begin to tell all of them, because just when you think you've experienced everything, there's another one that comes along and grabs you. And I'd go to the doctors and I'd explain it to them, and they would come back at me calling me a liar, or tell me I was exaggerating or that they'd never heard of such a thing. And then finally, a doctor decided this was about 5 years into my complaints and 5 years into being called a drug addict and being called every name under the sun, like besides drug addict. I was called a drama queen. They told my husband that I didn't get enough attention from him, and believe me, I did. Till my children disrespected me, my husband began to lose respect for me, and finally they did an MRI and they found that I had arachnoiditis, which I hadn't heard of, and neither had any of my friends or my husband, and many of the doctors, according to the doctors I've seen, don't know anything about it. However, he sent me to a top notch, according to them, surgeon, spine surgeon, who said, "Oh, he's going to fix me right up." And not knowing where the arachnoiditis came from, I trusted him, and sure enough, he gave me another epidural. And that epidural kind of did fix me up. It ramped me up to another level, and it it has put me into a position where getting up out of bed is an ordeal. Doing anything that involves any kind of walking or exercise is too much for me. I use a cane for the most part. If I have to go in an airport, I have to use a wheelchair. It's it's demeaning, as well as having been debilitated, and I've always been very frightened of death. My friends know me for being that way. My husband's always teased me about it, and I have to say that when I think about it now, I think that maybe suicide isn't such a bad option. It isn't.